Very complicated situation, and a situation I think could have been handled better from all parties. You know, let's be honest. I mean, it's a dance that's going to be done. It has been done between footballers and clubs, and it will continue to be done. You know, it's a football's a contractual sport. You know.
If you look at his transfer fee, you can expect that he's already quite grown up for his age, and that's exactly what I saw. So he comes in as an 18-year-old just playing with his new teammates as if he's here for longer. Impressive if you look at how tall he is, fast, comfortable on the ball. So yeah, there's a reason why we paid the transfer fee as we did, because we see him as a bright prospect. Yeah. Is that a good English? And he had already 3 good sessions, but it also tells you something about the team. If you come to this club, if you come into this team, you feel at ease from the start, because it's a very good and nice group to start your Liverpool career in.
Well, we've got to talk about Alexander Isak. He's featured front and centre there. It's unlikely he's going to feature on Monday night. Very complicated situation, isn't it?
Very complicated situation, and a situation I think could have been handled better from all parties. You know, let's be honest. I mean, it's a dance that's going to be done. It has been done between footballers and clubs, and it will continue to be done. You know, it's a football's a contractual sport. You know, Isak signed his contract. He was happy to sign his contract when he did, and now he doesn't. He's not happy with that. He wants to move to somewhere else. Newcastle don't want him to go. So you know, and it becomes a game of cat and mouse, and it's, you know, public pressure. You know, and ultimately, it just for me, it's just distasteful. It really is. I look at Eberechi Eze and what he's done, you know, at Crystal Palace and the service he's given them, and I think he goes with the grace and blessings of the fans, the manager, the players, his teammates, and his reputation intact. I think whatever happens with Isak now, I think he gets his move, but I think it leaves a sour note for the Newcastle fans.
It's a very big difference that you've mentioned there, because Eze was in the team for Fredrikstad, the game against Fredrikstad, of course, for Crystal Palace. You know, to say goodbye, he leaves in a very different way. As as we heard their manager also mentioning, my player is in training. Oliver Glasner, I'm not sure if you heard him saying, my player is in training. He's here, Mark Gay here as well. Same story. Whereas for Alexander Isak, very clearly, he's at training, but he's not in training. And I suppose for many people, that's really what they can't accept and what they don't like about it, because he's been paid this contract, this big fee that he agreed, as you mentioned, and he's not there for the team when they need him.
Yeah, I think it's a sad situation, to be honest, because he's such a fantastic footballer, an amazing goal scorer, especially a club like Newcastle. You know, they appreciate that number 9 figure, You know, Alan Shearer, they love Alan Shearer, this iconic figure up there, and all of a sudden you get someone like an Isak that scores goals and win a trophy. So it just seems like the perfect time to be at the football club. But I do feel like there's ways in which you do things. I think if you put yourself in the fans' shoes, you know, they obviously pay their money to come watch the team, you know, work around the clock to buy their season tickets. And then you've got one of your better players basically saying, I don't want to play for this football club. Then obviously you come out and, you know, his statements talking about, like, obviously the club understand his stance on it, and you know, the relationship's broken down. Is sort of like it's a broken promise, and it's unfixable. So it's going to be obviously hard for the fans, because you never want to see your better players go. Callum Wilson's obviously gone, and they need a forward in that, but.
Yhdessä vähäkalorisen ruokavalion kanssa voit Formolinen avulla laittua 3 kuukaudessa noin 5 kiloa ja saada 9 senttiä pois vyötäröltä. Hae Formoline tabletit apteekista ja aloita laihtuminen jo tänään.
It's a sad situation, to be honest.
Does that also remind us how important it is as a player that you surround yourself with kind of the right people?
Yeah, it is. And listen, agents have a job. They got they got mouths to feed, and every agent will want you to move. Because there's beneficial financial benefit to them. So then your advice is slightly tinged. It's not someone coming from the outside saying, well, listen, and also what I would say with Isak, I don't want to be too judgmental on the lad, right? Because he might have stars in his eyes. He wants to play for Liverpool, and he's a young man, and he thinks this is the only way I can get what I want. And we was all driven young men at one point or another where. We footballers, we're determined and we want to do it. So that's easily that sort of emotion is easily sort of like manipulated slightly to do that. But I think Isak, whatever this situation, it will end. I think with him going to Liverpool, and I think when he looks back at it, hopefully he's man in his 30s and his 40s, he'll look back and go, I probably could have handled that better, and you'd have done it differently. But we've all done things in our youth which we probably wasn't the right thing to do. But if I was his big brother, I would, and you got 3 years left on his contract, and I say, listen, this ain't a fight you want now. Go and have a year in the Champions League with Newcastle. Maybe you win another trophy, cement your legacy. It might not be Liverpool next summer, but it might be Real Madrid. You don't know where the world will take you, but it's important, and as you get older, I think it's more important you do the right thing. You have your ethics and things like that. So I don't want to be too judgmental on him because we've all been there. We've done the silly things, but I don't think he's covered himself in glory with how him and his team have handled this whole situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough to say. Well, Eddie Howe spoke about the latest on Alexander Isak's situation and whether he'd welcome him back.
About Alexander Isak, and has anything changed over... Morning, Eddie. Before we come on to the match, just want to ask you firstly about Alexander Isak, and has anything changed over the last couple of days with his situation?
No, there's been no change.
So he again won't be part of your squad. Is that your expectation?
Yeah, no, he won't be part of the squad for this weekend's game.
Over the summer, you've answered a lot of questions about him, but earlier this week there was an exchange of words publicly. He published a statement. The club responded quite quickly. Is it helpful to you that there is now other communication about this situation coming from the club, coming from higher up?
Yeah, I'd always say my preference for these things is it doesn't happen publicly, because I think everything is better dealt with behind closed doors, but need
A lot of goals this season, especially the chances Verts and the two fullbacks, Perkins and Frimpong has got an injury, but really exciting squad.
Yeah, Frimpong is injured, I think, till after the international break. Just your thoughts on Liverpool win.
I thought going forward they were sensational, and I did think there'd be a little bit of teething problems. I think they've done brilliant business, Ekatike, Frimpong, Verts, but they was getting caught on the break a little bit. Yeah. There was holes in it, and which was slight, and that's okay because you're changing parts of your team. It was just about finding balance. Gravenbach's available for this game, so I expect him to come, and he was sensational last year at snuffing teams out and stopping the counter attack. But it's a great game, and this game could be another classic because it's poised. I watched Newcastle, and they are literally, I think, the best team at winning the ball in the midfield with Joe Linton, Tonali and Guimaraes, and breaking. They got pace in Elanga, Gordon, Murphy. So the game's going to be... There has to be goals in this game. There has to be goals, I think, and it's going to be an exciting one. And I think it could be a high-scoring draw.
Yeah, I think there is going to be plenty of spice. High-scoring draw, 3-3 last time out.
Yeah.
Joe is ready for predictions already. We like it here on Team Talks. Well,
it is so fascinating as well. You've got quite literally the best striker in the league, potentially the best striker in Europe, and something like this has manifested itself. I mean, Jay, how do you think Isak has handled this whole situation?
One thing I would say, he should always go training, and he should always want to play the matches, because ultimately, whether he goes, whether he stays, he wants to be match fit. He wants to be ready. There's no player out there that doesn't want to play football matches, but I do think that there's more to the story than what we actually know, because I've heard a few things where he got promised a big deal, and then the big deal didn't happen. It was reported 300 grand a week, and it didn't end up materialising. That would obviously upset a player. And when you hear like Gordon spoke out, even Eddie Howe there, it doesn't sound like he's really upset with him. It sounds like they're more understanding to the situation that's happened.
Yeah. With the hierarchy.
With the hierarchy, yeah. And I feel like with the players as well, because ultimately you haven't really heard any players coming out saying, if you don't want to be here, you don't need to be here. It's very much, under wraps. But ultimately, there's definitely more that's happened. And I can understand if he's been made promises and they haven't been fulfilled, why he would be upset.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you want to be in a situation together.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I think when people first saw the statement that Alexander Isak put out, instantly people thought he's been promised to move away. Yeah. That must be what it is. But you think it could even be that deal?
I think it would be a deal. Because he's won the League Cup, right?
Yep.
He's had a great season. He's had a great 2 or 3 seasons.
Yep.
He's the main man.
He's in the Champions League.
In my opinion, he's probably the best number 9 in the world, as in take age into consideration as well. And now he's saying, well, if you rate me at 120, 150 million pound, pay me like that player.
Yeah.
Give me that kind of money. If he's worth 150 million pounds to Newcastle, then you have to pay him that same way. He can't be on 150 grand a week or stuff like that. You need to pay him like he's one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. I mean, Clinton, have you ever seen a situation like this where it is just a complete standoff?
I think it happens, and I think it's going to happen more. Probably not in our time because it's a bit different, but I think now it's going to happen more. I think when it's happening, we're talking about Isak, but I think the same thing's happening with Vissa, but Vissa's now started to train with the Brentford first team.
Yeah.
So it's happening. It's because players are trying to force the move, and it's player power. But I think he wants to go and play at Liverpool as well anyway, because I feel, even though Newcastle won a trophy last season, got into the Champions League, Newcastle's a huge football club, but I think you look at what's happening at Liverpool, and I think he sees the exciting project they have under Arne Slot and all these players that they're signing there. So he's one of those where, at first, when I saw his statement, I said he's out of order, and I said whoever's advising him, it's out of order. Because
what about the statement did you not like?
Because I just think to myself, he's saying he's promises that can change. Jay knows in football, a club can tell you one week they want you, and the next week they could just say we don't want you and discard you, and that happens in football. There's no loyalty in football. I know Newcastle fans will be disappointed that he wants to leave, but there's no loyalty. If they didn't think a player was good enough, a club are quick enough to get rid of a player. So why can't a player say I want to leave the football club? I don't think he's gone about it the right way. But I kind of understand now if he's had promises from the hierarchy that said, we'll either give you a bigger contract or we'll let you move, and it hasn't happened. But these things does happen. I think the best, what Jay, and he made a great point, go and train. Still go and train. Keep your head down. Like the likes of Eze didn't want to leave the football club, but look what he's done. There was a lot of rumours by him. He didn't go to Palace and say, I'm not going to come to training or stuff like that. He just got on with it. We don't know the ins and outs of that. That's why I was happy when Isak came out with that statement, because he and then Newcastle came back with another statement. So I think it's good, but it's going to happen, isn't it? Let's be honest. I think his time at Newcastle's finished, isn't it?
But I mean, even to what Eddie Howe said there, again, Eddie Howe doesn't strike me like he's really upset with the situation. He sounds understanding to me when I listen to him speak. Now, when you see Eddie Howe, the way he carries himself, he's very, cutthroat. I think he's really straight. I think the reason why all players like him is because he's just very honest.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing here. He's being very honest about the situation. He is not saying at all the way he's carrying himself is terrible. We don't want to play like that at this club. So to me, he sounds a bit understanding. That's why I feel like there's more happening behind the scenes than what we know.